But can I be honest? It's just...
Yeah, come on.
Sources tell CNN that Russia is aiding Iran's war effort by providing intel on U.S. military targets. When President Trump was asked about this, here's how he reacted.
It sounds like the Russians are helping Iran target and attack Americans now.
That's an easy problem compared to what we're doing here. But can I be honest? It's just... I have a lot of respect for you. You've always been very nice to me. What a stupid question that is to be asking at this time.
It's always a stupid
We're talking about
question.
something else.
Tonight, we examine the deaths of 6 United States service members and the strategic
Why they still
failure
talking
of the
about
executive
6?
branch to acknowledge the source of the intelligence that killed them. 6 United States Reserve soldiers are dead in Kuwait because a drone struck a facility at Port Shuaiba. The administration of Donald Trump claims that foreign intervention is not a factor. The evidence proves that Russia is providing the targeting data used to kill Americans. Let's play this clip.
CNN's Gabe Cohen is following all of this. And Gabe, tell us more about this reporting. Intel officials, I would assume, do not view this as a stupid issue. It is one that has a lot in the community concerned, especially given the fact that we don't know that there's a direct parallel and connection, but we have just lost 6 U.S. service members in this war days ago.
Well, Bianna, one of the reasons that this is really significant is because it's the first indication that Moscow is getting involved in this conflict. Those sources telling CNN that Russia is providing this intel about the location of American troops and assets so that Iran can specifically target them. And much of that intelligence is coming from this sophisticated satellite system that Russia has, as Iran has been seeing their military capabilities degraded day after day from all of this fighting.
On March 6, 2026, Donald Trump addressed reports that Russia is assisting Iran in targeting United States military assets. Donald Trump stated that the report was a stupid question. Donald Trump claimed that the United States is neutering Iran. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stated that Russia and China are not really a factor in the war with Iran. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth claimed that no one is putting the United States in danger. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stated that Russian intelligence sharing is not making a difference. These statements are lies. Let's play this clip.
So we know what's going on, and the president has an incredible knack at knowing how to mitigate those risks. And so the American people can rest assured their commander-in-chief is well aware of who's talking to who, and anything that shouldn't be happening, whether it's in public or back-channeled, is being confronted and confronted strongly.
The American people can therefore expect conversations with the Russians to stop this?
Well, President Trump, as people have seen, has a unique relationship with a lot of world leaders where he can get things done that other presidents, certainly Joe Biden, never could have. And through direct conversations or indirect, through him one-to-one or through his cabinet, messages definitely can be delivered.
Does this put U.S. personnel in any more danger than they otherwise would be?
Well,
The Russian involvement?
No one's putting us in danger. We're putting the other
Look how
guys
he
in
lying. This lying.
Is the official denial
significant is because it's the first
concerned, especially given
foreign intervention
Just
is not a
lying
factor.
his butt
The
off.
evidence proves that Russia is providing the targeting data used to kill Americans. Let's play this clip.
CNN's Gabe Cohen is following all of this. And Gabe, tell us more about this reporting. Intel officials, I would assume, do not view this as a stupid issue. It is one that has a lot in the community concerned, especially given the fact that we don't know that there's a direct parallel and connection, but we have just lost 6 U.S. service members
More than that, baby.
in this war days ago.
Well, Bianna, one of the reasons that this is really significant is because it's the first indication that Moscow is getting involved in this conflict. Those sources telling CNN that Russia is providing this intel about the location of American troops and assets so that Iran can specifically target them.
Patricia.
And much of that intelligence is coming from this sophisticated satellite system that Russia has, as Iran has been seeing their military capabilities degraded day after day from all of this fighting.
Cut
On
from
March
a different
6,
cloth.
2026,
Walter.
Donald Trump addressed
Purple
reports
Groovy.
that Russia is assisting Iran in
Janet.
targeting United States military assets.
Joe.
Donald Trump stated that the report was a stupid question. Donald Trump claimed that the United States is neutering Iran. Defense Secretary Pete
Denise.
Hegseth stated that Russia and China are not really a factor in the war with Iran. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth claimed that no
Hey,
one is
Daryl.
putting the United States in danger. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stated that Russian intelligence sharing is not making a difference. These statements are lies. Let's play this clip.
So we know what's going on, and the president has an incredible knack at knowing how to mitigate those risks. And so the American people can rest assured their commander-in-chief is well aware of who's talking to who.
Go out and
anything
come
that
back
shouldn't
in,
be
Sharon.
happening, whether it's in public or back-channeled, is being confronted and confronted strongly.
The American people can therefore expect conversations with the Russians to stop this?
Well, President Trump, as people have seen, has a unique relationship with a lot of world leaders. where he
Stuff
can get
just
things
can't be
done that
yes
other
or no.
presidents, certainly Joe Biden, never could have. And through direct conversations or indirect, through him one-to-one or through his cabinet, messages definitely can be delivered.
Does this put U.S. personnel in any more danger than they otherwise would be?
Well,
The Russian involvement?
no one's putting us in danger. We're putting the other guys
Just
in danger.
lying.
The
Just
lie
lying.
is the official denial of co-belligerency by Russia in the
Denial.
attacks against United States personnel.
You say denial, I
Donald
say
Trump
lying.
dismissed the reality of
Denial,
Russian
lying.
intelligence sharing
You
as
know.
a stupid question during a press interaction. Pete Hegseth explicitly told reporters that Russia and China are not a factor. Caroline Leavitt characterized the intelligence sharing as irrelevant to the success of United States operations. This creates a false narrative that the United States is facing a solitary adversary.
Yeah, are
when the
very
evidence shows
incompetent.
a deepening military alliance between Russia, Iran, and China. Let's play this clip.
Gabe Cohen, thank you so much. Sources tell CNN that Russia is now providing Tehran with intelligence about the location and movements of U.S. troops, of U.S. ships, of U.S. aircraft. Sources
God
also
dang.
tell us the U.S. has intelligence suggesting that China may be getting ready to provide Iran with money, spare parts, and even missile components. CBS News got to ask Secretary Pete Hegseth specifically about Russia's reported involvement.
The average American might hear that and think that's a big and dangerous deal, is it?
Hey, Illis.
Well, we're tracking everything.
Again,
Our commanders
with a
are aware of
long
everything.
handle,
We're the best intelligence in the world. We're aware of who's talking to who, why they're talking
tent
to
fort.
whom, how accurate that information
With a
might
long
be,
handle.
how we factor that into our battle plans, our
Tent
CENTCOM commander.
fork.
So
Yeah.
we know what's going on, and the president has an incredible knack at knowing how to mitigate those risks.
Does this put U.S. personnel in any more danger than they otherwise would be?
Well,
The Russian involvement?
no one's putting us in danger. We're putting the other guys in danger.
Just
That's
lying
our
his
job. So we're
ass
not concerned
off.
about that.
As for the president, well, he was at a college sports roundtable today when Fox News asked him about Russia's role.
Forensic evidence from 3 officials familiar with United States intelligence confirms that Russia has provided Iran with
They'll
target
put us in
information.
all
This
type of
information
trouble.
includes the exact locations of United States warships and aircraft.
They say he
in
got
the
a,
Middle East.
a
This
jet
intelligence has been
on
provided since the
standby
initial
in
United
case
States and
they
Israeli
push a
strikes
button
began on
for the
February
U.S. He
28,
gonna run his
2026.
ass
One
out.
official described this as a
They need
pretty
to
comprehensive
hem him
effort
up
by the
on them
government of
Epstein
Vladimir
charges
Putin. The
before he
evidence
get up
shows
out of
that
there.
Russia is utilizing its sophisticated constellation of overhead satellites to track military movements. Iran does not possess its own satellite constellation and relies on external sources for high-quality imagery. Let's play this clip.
This was his answer.
What a stupid question that is to be asking
Scary
at
ass.
this time. We're talking about something else. Can we keep this maybe?
That's why his face
little
is
bit-
breaking out, y'all.
Go ahead, please.
The timing of the attacks on United States command and control infrastructure corresponds with the pattern of Russian intelligence sharing. This includes the drone strike in Kuwait that killed 6 United States Reserve soldiers at Port Shuaiba. It also
He don't wanna
includes the
answer them
destruction of
questions.
$300 million
Been drinking that old English.
AMTY-2 radar at Muwafaq
800.
Salti Air Base in Jordan. Satellite imagery
That
confirms
eating
that
the
this
juice.
radar was destroyed
My dad
despite
passed
initial
away
reports
a
of
year
interception.
ago.
This
I
loss
wish
creates a gap in
that he
high-altitude
was here.
surveillance
I
for the
told
United
him that
States
this was
and
gonna
its
happen.
partners.
I'm sorry
The
for your
destruction of the
loss.
Jordan-based
My
radar
condolences
followed
to you,
damage
Patricia.
to a $1 billion early warning radar in Qatar and strikes on SATCOM terminals in Bahrain. This indicates a systemic effort to dismantle the sensors that serve as the eyes of the defensive umbrella in the Persian Gulf. Let's play this clip.
Well, my first thought is, but of course they are. I mean, this is payback for the United States providing Ukraine intelligence on the position of Russian forces and assets in the vicinity of Ukraine.
Baron Trump.
So I
Can't.
would be
Oh, now
astonished
they.
if Russia didn't.
Now there
do
was
this.
another basketball player. I
And
can't
quite
think of his
frankly, this
name
is
that
an
was in the
expected
military.
And like I said, it's
Yeah, he can get in
tit
there.
for tat.
He can get
I
in
think
there.
we're doing the same thing in the European theater.
I can't think of his name.
To see the White House response to
Additional forensic evidence shows that China is preparing to provide Iran with financial assistance and missile components. China has a history of providing sodium perchlorate to the Iranian ballistic missile program. Sodium perchlorate is a chemical precursor for solid missile propellant. European intelligence sources confirmed that Iran received 2,000 tons of sodium perchlorate from China in several shipments to Bandar Abbas in October 2025. This allowed Iran to rebuild its ballistic missile program following a previous conflict with Israel. While the administration of Donald Trump downplays these facts, the evidence proves that the Iranian war effort is being sustained by the strategic support of two major global adversaries. The power and control analysis of this evidence reveals a coordinated strategy to degrade United States military dominance. By providing satellite imagery, Vladimir Putin allows Iran to identify which bases the United States is currently using and the specific location of logistics flows. This neutralizes the advantage of United States stealth and movement. The destruction of the THEAD radar in Jordan forces the United States to rely on Patriot systems, which are currently facing a shortage of PASI-3 interceptor missiles. This puts United States personnel at a higher risk of ballistic missile impacts because the defensive capacity is being systematically exhausted. Let's play this clip.
In terms of what advantage it gives Iran, it gives them targeting information, and that could be useful if they have the assets necessary to strike those targets. It's going to be hard to parse out whether any particular strike was made possible by Russian intelligence, but we can probably assume that they were.
The control of information is also a factor in this conflict. On March 6, 2026, the satellite imagery provider Planet Labs enacted a policy to delay new imagery over the Gulf states by 96 hours. This policy excludes Iran. This suggests that commercial data is being manipulated to protect United States assets, yet the government of Vladimir Putin provides a direct bypass for the Iranian regime. This intelligence sharing fits the pattern of previous Russian efforts, such as providing targeting data to the Houthis in 2024 to strike Western shipping. Vladimir Putin is using the war in the Middle East to divert the attention of the United States away from the war in Ukraine. The strongest defense argument offered by the administration and its analysts is the concept of tit-for-tat retaliation.
They don't tell us the truth.
Retired United States Army Colonel Peter Mansour stated that Russian involvement is expected because the United States provides similar intelligence to Ukraine. Peter Mansour argued that it would be hypocritical to protest Russian support for its allies. This argument is dismantled by the legal and strategic reality of the current conflict. Providing intelligence to a nation defending its sovereign territory from invasion, as in the case of Ukraine, is not legally equivalent to providing targeting data for offensive strikes against United States service members. Furthermore, the defense claim by Caroline Leavitt that Russian aid does not matter because of United States success is contradicted by the casualty count. 6 Americans are dead. A $300 million radar system is destroyed. Iranian missile attacks have declined by 90%, according to Admiral Brad Cooper. But this success is temporary if China provides the components to rebuild the industrial base. The administration of Donald Trump is ignoring the long-term strategic consequence of allowing Russia and China to use Iran as a proxy to deplete United States interceptor stockpiles. The legal education of this matter rests on the definitions of co-belligerency and state responsibility. Under international law, a state that provides actionable intelligence for specific military strikes against the personnel of another state can be considered a participant in the hostilities. Russia is not merely a neutral observer. By providing coordinates for United States warships, the government of Vladimir Putin is facilitating the act of war. The Iranian-Russian Treaty on Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, which came into effect on October 2nd, 2025, codifies this military and political partnership for the...
I need for y'all to hit the like button. There's 270 people in here. Only 17 likes. Come on. Please, come on, y'all. Let's hit the like button. Double tap the face of your phone screen. Double tap it. It'll get a thumbs up, or hit the three dots at the top right corner. The quicker, come on, y'all. Double tap.
Next 20 years. This treaty covers defense and counterterrorism, providing a legal framework for the very intelligence sharing that Donald Trump calls a stupid question. The professional judgment on the responsibility and fitness of the executive branch is clear. Donald Trump has demonstrated a failure
Hey,
to
Joe,
acknowledge
come
the
on.
severity
Hey.
of intelligence reports regarding Russian intervention. By dismissing these reports as stupid, Donald Trump is ignoring the direct threat to the lives of United States troops. Pete Hegseth is also failing in his duty as defense secretary by claiming Russia is not a factor when his own commanders are tracking their involvement. The refusal to issue a formal diplomatic protest or a démarche to Moscow constitutes a failure of institutional responsibility. This behavior suggests that the personal relationship between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin is taking precedence over the safety of the men and women in uniform. The expert authority stack for this assessment includes the Institute for the Study of War and the Critical Threats Project. These organizations produce the premier open source analysis of the conflict. Additional authority comes from Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of United States Central Command, who has confirmed the scale of the Iranian threat and the ongoing campaign to dismantle it. Mike Peterson, a principal research scientist at the Center for Naval Analyses, and Dara Massacat, an expert on the Russian armed forces at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, have both confirmed that the precision of Iranian strikes points directly to Russian satellite assistance. These are nonpartisan professionals whose findings directly contradict the narrative provided by the White House. Institutional accountability must be sought through the Department of Justice and the United States Congress. There are existing laws regarding the
broke all
reporting
type of
of foreign
laws
threats and the
this
protection of
war.
military assets. The failure of Donald Trump to act on intelligence regarding Russian targeting of Americans warrants immediate congressional oversight. The United States House of Representatives recently rejected a bid to curb the war powers of Donald Trump, but that does not absolve the institution of its duty to investigate the loss of 6 American lives in Kuwait. The military command, including Admiral Brad Cooper, must be called to testify on whether the lack of a diplomatic response to Russia has hindered their ability to protect the fleet. The procedural consequences of this failure are already manifesting on the battlefield. The United States and Israel have been forced to expand their campaign to include the Iranian defense industrial base and internal security infrastructure. Strikes have targeted the Shokuhye industrial zone in Qom and the Esteglal industrial zone in Tehran to stop drone production. The IDF has struck over 400 targets in western Iran. The United States has destroyed over 30 Iranian naval vessels, including the drone carrier Shahid Bagheri. However, as long as Russia provides the targeting data and China provides the chemicals, this campaign remains a process of attrition rather than a path to unconditional surrender. The conflict is spreading to the maritime domain, where the UKMTO has reported 13 incidents in the Strait of Hormuz since February 28, 2026. Projectiles have struck tugboats and cargo ships, leading to unconfirmed casualties. The Trump administration has unveiled a $20 billion maritime insurance plan to restore confidence in shipping. But this is a financial patch for a military problem. The strategic reality is that the United States is being drawn into a prolonged war that benefits the oil revenues of Vladimir Putin and diverts resources from other theaters. The deaths of the 6 service members in Kuwait are the primary evidence of the cost of this denial. When the commander-in-chief characterizes the source of lethal intelligence as a stupid question, he fails the first test of leadership. The evidence from the Institute for the Study of War, the Washington Post, and the Pentagon's own satellite assessments proves that the United States is in a multi-front conflict against a coalition of adversaries. The administration of Donald Trump must be held accountable for its refusal to acknowledge the co-belligerency of the government of Vladimir Putin. In southern Lebanon, the conflict continues to escalate, with the IDF targeting Hezbollah military sites and the Radwan Force command centers. The The Lebanese government has banned all IRGC activity and seeks to deport their members. Reports indicate that dozens of IRGC officers are fleeing Beirut as the decapitation campaign targeting senior officials like Ali Asghar Hijazi continues. Yet, even as the Iranian proxies are degraded, the source of the high-level intelligence remains active and unpunished in Moscow. The procedural consequence is a war that could last much longer than the initial 4 to 5 week timeline estimated by the administration. Without a shift in institutional accountability, the United States will continue to expend its exquisite class weaponry against a replenishable proxy while the primary strategic threats remain sheltered by the silence of the White House. This analysis concludes that the safety of United States personnel is being compromised by the refusal of Donald Trump to confront Vladimir Putin. The facts of the satellite imagery, the chemical precursor shipments, and the dead in Kuwait remain the only accurate measures of this war.
Now let's see this.
5 words just changed the trajectory of this entire conflict. While the world was focused on the strikes hammering Iran's military infrastructure, a statement came out of Pyongyang that made every intelligence analyst from Washington to Tel Aviv
Hit the like
stop
button.
what they were doing and pay attention. Kim Jong-un signaled his support for Iran publicly, and the message was as
I need for y'all to hit the like button. Kim Jong. Y'all, I don't want to have to keep stopping. I want y'all to do what y'all need to do. Hit the like button. Things just got bad. It just went from bad to worse.
stop what they were doing and pay attention. Kim Jong-un signaled his support for Iran publicly, and the message was as simple as it was terrifying. We are
Maybe
ready
he
to
drank
help.
some bleach.
Now on the surface, that might sound like standard diplomatic posturing.
Yeah, he drank a whole bunch of that bleach, didn't he?
Grab headlines and score points against the West. But here's why this is different. And here's why you need to understand what's actually behind those words. North Korea and Iran have not just been casual acquaintances on the world stage. They have been quietly building one of the most dangerous military partnerships on Earth for over 4 decades, sharing missile blueprints, trading weapons components, cooperating on cyber operations,
trading
potentially
weapons
exchanging
components.
knowledge stage. They have been quietly building one of the most dangerous military partnerships on Earth for over 4 decades, sharing missile blueprints, trading weapons components, cooperating on cyber operations, and potentially exchanging knowledge that inches closer to the nuclear threshold than any of us would like to admit. What Kim Jong-un just did was take a relationship that has operated in the shadows for decades and drag it into the light at the worst possible moment. And the implications of that decision could reshape this entire conflict in ways nobody is fully prepared for. Welcome back to War and Wealth. Before we get deep into this one, and trust me, this story goes deeper than almost anything we've covered on this channel, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. We are tracking developments that are moving fast. The next update on this situation could drop at any moment. You don't want to miss it. Subscribe, hit the bell, and let's get into the most dangerous alliance you've probably never fully understood. To grasp why 5 words from Kim Jong-un sent shockwaves through the intelligence community, you have to go back to where this relationship actually began, because it didn't start yesterday, and it didn't start with this conflict. The military partnership between North Korea and Iran traces its roots all the way back to the 1980s, during the brutal Iran-Iraq war that killed hundreds of thousands of people and left Iran desperate for weapons that the international community was largely unwilling to provide. Iran was isolated, sanctioned, and fighting for survival against Saddam Hussein's military machine, which was being supplied by multiple Western nations and Gulf states. Tehran needed missiles, and Pyongyang had them. North Korea became one of Iran's most important arms suppliers during that conflict, shipping Scud-B missiles to Iran at a time when almost nobody else would sell them weapons of that caliber. Those early transactions weren't just business deals. They were the foundation of a strategic relationship built on a shared principle that has held firm ever since the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The United States was the common enemy that bound these two nations together. What happened after the Iran-Iraq war ended is where the story gets truly significant. Instead of the relationship fading away once the immediate crisis was over, it deepened and expanded into something far more sophisticated. Throughout the 1990s, North Korean engineers and missile technicians traveled to Iran to help develop the country's indigenous ballistic missile program. The crown jewel of this cooperation was the transfer of technology related to North Korea.
Are y'all listening to what y'all go there?
Once the immediate crisis was over, it deepened and expanded into something far more sophisticated. Throughout the 1990s, North Korean engineers and missile technicians traveled to Iran to help develop the country's indigenous ballistic missile program. The crown jewel of this cooperation was the transfer of technology related to North Korea's Nodong medium-range ballistic missile, which became the foundation for Iran's Shahab-3 missile system. Now, let that sink in for a moment. One of the most important weapons in Iran's current arsenal, the missile that gives Tehran the ability to threaten targets across the Middle East, exists in its current form because of North Korean technology and expertise. This isn't speculation or conspiracy theory. It has been documented extensively by United Nations panels of experts, independent weapons researchers, and intelligence agencies from multiple countries. The Shahab-3 and its subsequent variants are essentially the children of North Korean missile engineering, adapted and refined by Iranian scientists, but born from blueprints and knowledge that originated in Pyongyang. The cooperation didn't stop with the Shahab-3, and this is where the story starts to get genuinely alarming for anyone paying attention to global security. Reports from UN monitoring groups and various intelligence assessments have indicated that missile technology continued flowing between the two countries, well into the 2000s and beyond, with North Korean components and expertise showing up in increasingly advanced Iranian systems. There were credible reports that technology related to the BM-25 Musudan intermediate-range ballistic missile was shared with Iran, potentially giving Tehran access to designs capable of reaching targets far beyond the Middle East. North Korean technicians were reportedly present at Iranian missile test facilities, providing technical guidance and troubleshooting expertise that accelerated Iran's development timeline by years, if not decades. Every sanctions regime, every diplomatic effort, every attempt to isolate these two countries from the global weapons market only seemed to push them closer together, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of cooperation that has proven remarkably resistant to outside pressure. Now let's talk about what North Korea could actually provide to Iran in the current moment, because we are ready to help only matters if there's substance behind it. And the uncomfortable truth is that Pyongyang has a great deal of substance to offer.
Yeah, we in
The most
trouble.
obvious category is ballistic missile technology, and not just the older systems that formed the basis of their historical cooperation. North Korea has made dramatic advances in its missile program in recent years, successfully testing intercontinental ballistic missiles, developing solid fuel rocket technology that makes missiles faster to deploy and harder to detect before launch, and reportedly making progress on hypersonic glide vehicles that could potentially evade existing missile defense systems. If even a fraction of this newer technology were transferred to Iran, it would represent a quantum leap in Tehran's strike capabilities, potentially giving them the ability to threaten targets in Europe, and fundamentally altering the strategic balance that has defined Middle Eastern security for decades. But missiles are just one piece of what makes this partnership so dangerous, and arguably they aren't even the most concerning element. North Korea has developed one of the most capable and aggressive cyber warfare programs on the planet, operating through groups like Lazarus and its various subunits to conduct operations that have stunned the cybersecurity world. These are the people behind the 2014 Sony Pictures hack, the WannaCry ransomware attack that crippled hospitals and businesses across dozens of countries in 2017, and the theft of billions of dollars in cryptocurrency that funds North Korea's weapons programs. Their cyber operators are skilled, disciplined, and operate with a level of state backing that few other hacking groups can match. If North Korea were to share cyber warfare tools, techniques, or even personnel with Iran, which already has its own considerable cyber capabilities, the combined threat could be devastating. Imagine coordinated cyber attacks targeting military communication systems, financial infrastructure, power grids, or water treatment facilities, timed to coincide with physical military operations. That's not science fiction. Those are capabilities that both nations have demonstrated independently and that could become exponentially more dangerous if combined. The category that keeps intelligence chiefs awake at night, though, the one that transforms this from a regional concern into an existential global threat, is nuclear technology. North Korea has conducted 6 nuclear tests and is believed to possess enough fissile material for dozens of nuclear warheads. They have developed the technical knowledge to miniaturize nuclear devices for delivery by ballistic missile, a capability that took them decades to achieve, and that represents some of the most closely guarded technical knowledge on Earth. Iran, despite years of diplomatic efforts to prevent it, has been gradually advancing its own nuclear program, enriching uranium to levels that are difficult to justify for purely civilian purposes, and maintaining research infrastructure that could potentially be redirected toward weapons development. The nightmare scenario that has haunted non-proliferation experts for years is a transfer of critical nuclear weapons knowledge from North Korea to Iran. Not necessarily a complete warhead, but the specific technical insights and engineering solutions that would allow Iran to cross the nuclear threshold far more quickly than its own program would otherwise
Hit the like button.
Whether Kim Jong-un would actually cross that line is one of the most consequential questions in global security, and his public declaration of readiness to help Iran has forced that question from the theoretical into the terrifyingly practical. There's another dimension to potential North Korean assistance that doesn't get enough attention, and that's the role of military advisors and conventional weapons expertise. North Korea maintains one of the largest standing armies in the world, with over 1 million active duty personnel and decades of experience developing asymmetric warfare strategies designed to counter technologically superior opponents. Their expertise in tunnel construction, underground facility hardening, artillery tactics, and coastal defense could be directly applicable to Iran's military needs, particularly in the current environment where Iranian infrastructure is under sustained attack. We've already seen precedent for this type of cooperation. North Korean military advisors have been documented in various conflict zones over the years, from Africa to the Middle East, providing training and expertise to governments and groups aligned with Pyongyang's interests. The deployment of even a small number of specialized North Korean military personnel to Iran could provide significant assistance in areas like fortifying critical infrastructure, maintaining and operating advanced weapon systems, and developing tactical responses to ongoing military operations. The logistics of how North Korea gets weapons and technology to Iran is a story in itself, one that reveals just how sophisticated sanctions evasion has become in the modern world. Both countries have developed extensive networks of front companies, shell corporations, and intermediary nations that facilitate the movement of prohibited goods and knowledge. Ships have been caught carrying North Korean weapons components hidden beneath legitimate cargo. Diplomatic pouches have reportedly been used to transfer technical documents, and cyber-enabled communications have allowed sensitive information to flow between the two countries without ever physically crossing a border. The United Nations panel of experts that monitors North Korean sanctions compliance has repeatedly documented these evasion techniques, painting a picture of a relationship that has become remarkably adept at operating beneath the surface of international attention. Despite the best efforts of intelligence agencies and customs authorities around the world, the pipeline between Pyongyang and Tehran has proven extraordinarily difficult to shut down completely, and current circumstances may provide even greater motivation and opportunity for both sides to expand these covert channels. Washington's response to Kim Jong-un's statement has been measured publicly, but reportedly intense behind closed doors. American intelligence agencies are undoubtedly scrambling to assess whether North Korea's offer represents genuine intent to increase support or is primarily a rhetorical move designed to complicate American strategic calculations. The distinction matters enormously because it determines whether the United States needs to prepare for a significant escalation in the capabilities arrayed against it, or simply manage the political fallout of provocative statements. Sources familiar with intelligence assessments suggest that the truth likely falls somewhere in between. North Korea almost certainly intends to increase some forms of support to Iran, as doing so serves Pyongyang's interests by diverting American attention and resources, but the extent and nature of that support will depend on a complex set of factors, including the military situation on the ground, the risk of American retaliation against North Korea itself, and the practical challenges of delivering meaningful assistance across vast distances. Tel Aviv's reaction has been particularly intense, because Israel has long viewed the North Korea-Iran axis as one of the most serious long-term threats to its security. Israeli intelligence services have invested enormous resources in monitoring the relationship between the two countries, and there have been reports of Israeli operations aimed at disrupting specific transfers of technology and components. The prospect of North Korea accelerating its support for Iran at this moment, when Israeli military operations are actively targeting Iranian military infrastructure, creates a deeply concerning dynamic, where the degradation of Iranian capabilities could be partially offset by an influx of North Korean technology and expertise. For Israeli strategic planners, this transforms what might be a time-limited military campaign into a potentially open-ended challenge where the adversary's capabilities are continuously refreshed by an outside supplier. European capitals are also watching this development with growing alarm, and their concern goes beyond abstract geopolitical calculations to very concrete security implications. If North Korean missile technology allows Iran to develop systems capable of reaching European cities, the security architecture of the entire continent would need to be fundamentally reconsidered. European nations have already been grappling with the challenges posed by Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the resulting demands on their military resources and strategic attention. The prospect of simultaneously needing to address a growing Iranian missile threat enhanced by North Korean technology could overwhelm the capacity of European defense establishments that have spent decades underinvesting in military capabilities. China and Russia occupy complicated positions in this equation, and their responses could significantly influence how the situation develops. China is North Korea's most important economic partner and has historically exercised some degree of restraint on Pyongyang's most provocative actions, though the extent of that influence is often overstated. Beijing's calculus involves balancing its desire to avoid a major conflict that could destabilize the region against its strategic interest in seeing American power and attention diverted away from the Indo-Pacific. Russia, meanwhile, has its own evolving relationship with both North Korea and Iran, and the war in Ukraine has created new dynamics of cooperation between Moscow and these two countries that would have been difficult to imagine just a few years ago. The possibility of a more coordinated axis of resistance involving Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran is one of the most significant strategic developments of the early 21st century. And Kim Jong-un's public offer to help Iran can be understood as both a product and an accelerant of this broader realignment. The question of whether Kim Jong-un is bluffing or genuinely preparing to act is one that defies simple answers, because North Korean strategy has always involved elements of both calculated posturing and genuine willingness to take dramatic action. Kim's regime has demonstrated repeatedly that it is willing to accept enormous risk in pursuit of strategic objectives, from conducting nuclear tests in defiance of the entire international community, to developing intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching the American homeland. At the same time, North Korea has shown pragmatic awareness of its limitations and has generally avoided actions that would provoke a direct military confrontation with the United States that it cannot win. The current situation may offer a middle ground where Pyongyang can provide meaningful assistance to Iran through covert channels while maintaining enough ambiguity to avoid triggering a direct American response against North Korean targets. What makes this moment uniquely dangerous is not any single factor, but the convergence of multiple destabilizing elements simultaneously. The most dangerous development in this entire situation may be the one that hasn't happened yet, and that's the part that should concern all of us the most. If Iran begins to feel that its conventional military capabilities are being systematically degraded to the point where regime survival is threatened, the temptation to accept whatever North Korea is offering, including potentially nuclear-related assistance, increases dramatically. Desperation has historically been one of the most powerful drivers of nuclear proliferation, and a nation that feels its existence is at stake may be willing to cross thresholds that seemed unthinkable during peacetime. The international community's ability to prevent such a crossing depends on intelligence capabilities, diplomatic leverage, and military options that are all being stretched thin by the current crisis. For those of us watching from the United States, this situation demands attention and understanding, because the decisions being made right now by leaders in Pyongyang, Tehran, Washington, and other capitals will shape the security environment that Americans live in for decades to come. The relationship between North Korea and Iran isn't a distant abstraction. It directly affects the missile threats our allies face, the cyber attacks our infrastructure might endure, and the nuclear proliferation risks that could fundamentally alter the world our children inherit. Understanding these connections and their implications isn't optional for informed citizens. It's essential. This story is far from over, and the next chapter could be written at any moment. War and Wealth will be here to break it down for you with the depth and honesty that this topic demands. If this video helped you understand something you didn't fully grasp before, share it with someone who needs to see it. Seriously, hit that share button right now, because these are the kinds of stories that people need to understand, and that don't always get the attention they deserve in mainstream coverage. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think Kim Jong-un's real intention is here. Is this a calculated bluff designed to distract and divide American attention? Or are we watching the early stages of the most dangerous arms transfer in modern history? I genuinely want to know your take, because the discussions in our comment section are some of the most thoughtful I've seen anywhere on this platform. And your perspectives help shape how we approach these stories going forward. Subscribe if you haven't already, turn on notifications, and stay with us, because this situation is moving fast, and the next development could change everything. This is War and Wealth, and we'll see you in the next one.
Hold on. Oh, which one? Where we going next?
The missile alerts started
I need for y'all to hit the like button.
just after midnight local time. And what happened next might be the beginning of the end of American military dominance in the Persian Gulf. Iran didn't target some remote outpost or symbolic location. They went straight for the crown jewel of U.S. air power in the Middle East.
It's not our
launching
war.
ballistic missiles at the single most important American military installation that keeps the entire region's security architecture functioning. This isn't just another attack in a long series of escalations. This is Iran directly challenging the foundation of American military strategy that has defined Middle Eastern security for the past 3 decades. And the fact that those missiles got close enough to trigger emergency defensive measures tells us something deeply troubling about where this conflict is heading. Oil markets are already reacting with prices surging past levels we haven't seen in months. Defense contractors are scrambling to accelerate interceptor missile production. And military planners in Washington are having conversations they hoped they'd never need to have about whether America can actually defend its bases against sustained Iranian missile barrages. Welcome back to War and Wealth, where we break down the military and economic events reshaping our world in real time. What you're about to learn over the next few minutes could fundamentally change how you understand America's position in the Middle East and why your gas prices might be about to explode. If you want to stay ahead of these developments that mainstream media won't fully explain until it's too late, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell. Because this situation is evolving by the hour, and you need accurate, detailed analysis, not sound bites and speculation. Prince Sultan Air Base sits in the desert of central Saudi Arabia, about 70 miles southeast of Riyadh, and if you've never heard of it before, that's partly by design. This installation represents one of the most significant concentrations of American military power outside the continental United States, but it operates largely outside public attention. The base covers an area larger than many American cities, with multiple runways capable of handling everything from fighter jets to massive cargo aircraft, hardened aircraft shelters that can protect planes from attack, extensive munitions, storage facilities, and some of the most sophisticated command and control systems in the entire Department of Defense inventory. When American pilots launch strikes anywhere in the region, when cargo planes deliver critical supplies to forces across the Middle East, when intelligence analysts track threats from Yemen to Syria, Prince Sultan Air Base is very often at the center of those operations. The strategic importance of this base cannot be overstated, and understanding why Iran chose this target tells you everything about their strategic thinking. Prince Sultan isn't just another military facility, it's the logistical and operational hub that makes sustained American military operations in the Gulf possible. The base hosts the Combined Air Operations Center for U.S. Central Command, essentially the nerve center that coordinates all air operations across the entire region. Fighter squadrons stationed there can reach any target in Iran within minutes.
Thank you, Jay.
Aircraft based there extend the range of American and Allied aircraft operating throughout the Middle East.
Thank you.
And the missile defense systems deployed there protect not just the base itself, but provide an umbrella of protection for critical Saudi infrastructure, including oil facilities that keep global energy markets functioning. What makes this attack particularly significant is the weapon system Iran chose to employ. Ballistic missiles aren't like the drones and rockets that proxy forces have used in previous attacks. They're state-level weapons that require sophisticated technology, extensive infrastructure, and represent a clear escalation in the level of force being employed. The missiles launched at Prince Sultan were reportedly medium-range ballistic missiles, possibly variants of the Shahab-3 or more advanced systems, capable of carrying substantial warheads at speeds that make them extremely difficult to intercept. These aren't weapons you use for harassment or symbolic gestures. They're designed to destroy hardened targets and inflict maximum damage on military installations. The defensive response at Prince Sultan Air Base was immediate and dramatic, with Patriot missile defense batteries engaging the incoming threats in what witnesses described as a spectacular light show visible for miles across the desert. The Patriot system, specifically the PAC-3 variant deployed at the base, represents some of the most advanced missile defense technology in the American arsenal, capable of tracking and intercepting ballistic missiles at various stages of their flight. But here's what most people don't understand about missile defense, and it's crucial for grasping why this attack matters so much. These systems are incredibly expensive to operate and have a limited number of interceptors available at any given time. Each Patriot interceptor missile costs approximately $4 million, and a typical battery might have only 32 ready to fire at any moment. When you're facing a salvo of incoming ballistic missiles, you typically fire 2 interceptors at each target to ensure a kill, meaning that inventory of defensive missiles can be exhausted frighteningly quickly. The question that's keeping military planners awake right now is what happens when the interceptors run out. And that's not a theoretical concern anymore. Iran has demonstrated both the capability and willingness to launch sustained missile barrages, and they have an arsenal of thousands of ballistic missiles of various ranges. If they decide to conduct repeated strikes against Prince Sultan or other critical installations, the mathematics become genuinely alarming.
I'm going to show
you
the
United States and Saudi Arabia can't simply produce more interceptor missiles overnight. These are complex weapons that require months to manufacture. And the production lines are already stressed trying to supply systems to Ukraine, replenish stocks sent to Israel, and maintain readiness for potential conflicts in the Pacific. This creates a window of vulnerability that Iran clearly understands and appears ready to exploit. The immediate impact on oil markets was predictable, but no less significant for being anticipated. Within hours of the attack, crude prices jumped by over 7% in Asian trading, with Brent crude pushing past $95 per barrel and West Texas Intermediate approaching $90. These aren't just numbers on a screen, they translate directly into higher prices at gas pumps across America, increased costs for airlines that get passed on to travelers, and inflationary pressure throughout the entire economy. The energy markets are pricing in not just this single attack, but the possibility of sustained Iranian strikes against Saudi oil infrastructure, potentially taking millions of barrels per day offline and triggering the kind of energy crisis that could push the global economy into recession. Saudi Arabia's response to this attack puts them in an extraordinarily difficult position that could determine the future of the entire region. For years, the Saudis have been trying to balance their security relationship with the United States against their desire to avoid direct confrontation with Iran. They've watched as Iranian proxies attacked their oil facilities, their airports, and their cities, generally responding with restraint to avoid escalation. But a direct ballistic missile attack on the most important American base on their territory crosses new red lines and demands a response. The question
Doing
is
war
whether that
and close
response comes in
trade
the
route.
form of Saudi
Yeah.
strikes on Iranian targets,
always
which could
about
trigger
money with
massive
Trump.
retaliation against Saudi oil infrastructure, or whether Riyadh continues to pursue diplomatic solutions even as missiles fall on their territory. The technical details of the missile strike reveal sophisticated planning and intelligence gathering by Iranian forces to target Prince Sultan Air Base effectively. Iran needed detailed information about the facility's layout, the location of critical assets, and the coverage patterns of defensive systems. This isn't information you can get from Google Earth. It requires human intelligence, signals intercepts, and possibly cyber infiltration of military networks. The fact that Iran could plan and execute this strike suggests their intelligence capabilities are more advanced than many analysts previously assessed, and that has implications far beyond this single attack. If Iran has penetrated American and Saudi operational security to this degree, every military facility in the region needs to reassess its vulnerability. The strain on American military resources is becoming increasingly apparent. This attack exacerbates an already challenging situation. The United States is...
Hold on, y'all. Let me see something. I meant to show y'all a minute ago. Hold on.
Pay attention and listen, because Iran just released a new video of one of their underground missile sites and it looks untouched. Look.
Oh, hold on. Let me raise this up. Underground. Untouched. Trump them, hedge work, hedge pack, line, hay slinging, untouched.
Pay attention and listen, because Iran just released a new video of one of their underground missile sites and it looks untouched. Look. Pay attention and listen, because Iran just released a new video of one of their underground missile sites and it looks untouched. Look.
They said they done blew up all the missiles and they're out of weapons and shit. It's untouched. They ready for war. Plus Russia and China, South Korea. Delusional as hell.
Pay attention and listen, because Iran just released a new video of one of their underground missile sites and it
Hold on, let
looks
me get back to him.
untouched. Look.
Untouched. Yeah, let's get back to him.
Defense against Russia, maintaining deterrence against China in the Pacific, and now facing escalating threats in the Middle East. Each of these theaters requires sophisticated weapon systems, trained personnel, and logistical support that can't simply be shifted from one region to another without creating
All they doing
dangerous
is
gaps.
lying to us,
The missile defense systems,
making us
protecting
think we
Prince Sultan, for
winning.
example, can't
You
be
know,
moved to
we
protect
on
other
top now.
facilities
You
without
need
leaving the base vulnerable. But keeping them in place
boots
means
to
other
ground.
critical
Why?
locations remain exposed to attack. This strike also exposes fundamental challenges in the American strategic position that have been building for years, but are now becoming impossible to ignore. The entire American security architecture in the Middle East is built on a relatively small number of major bases that serve as hubs for military operations across the region. Prince Sultan, Al Udeid in Qatar, Al Dhafra in the UAE, and a handful of others are essentially irreplaceable nodes in the network that projects American power. If these bases become untenable due to sustained missile attacks, the entire American position in the region could unravel rapidly. Iran clearly understands this vulnerability and appears to be
Russia leaking.
462 soldiers dead. Russian intelligence just leaked Israel's real casualties. 6 Israel generals dead.
Y'all know
32
Trump don't
Mossad
want us to know
agents
this.
Dead. 198 Air Force officers dead. Russian intelligence just leaked Israel's real casualties. 6 Israel generals dead. 32 Mossad agents dead. 198 Air Force officers dead. 462 soldiers dead. 11 nuclear scientists dead. Yo, Israel is getting obliterated by Iran. Russian intelligence just leaked Israel's real casualties. 6 Israel generals dead. 32 Mossad agents dead. 198 Air Force officers dead. 462 soldiers dead. 11 nuclear scientists dead. Yo, Israel is getting obliterated by Iran. Russian intelligence just leaked Israel's real casualties. 6 Israel generals dead. 32 Mossad agents dead.
Can I get y'all to hit the like button? They want to destroy America. Yeah, but that's Trump. That's Trump and Israel. They in business together. And Saudi.
Yo,
And Saudi won't even let him reach.
Obliterated by Iran. Russian intelligence
Yeah, I mean,
just
this,
leaked Israel's
they
real
lying in our
casualties.
face.
6 Israel generals dead. 32
Just like
Mossad
9/11.
agents dead. 198 Air Force officers
Dead.
462 soldiers dead.
Dead.
11 nuclear
The military
scientists
bases.
dead.
Let's be clear.
Yo, Israel.
The military bases that had that trafficking, child trafficking, that Putin,
Russian intelligence just
that Putin said that he was going to destroy. Yeah. Those military bases that they're not accounting for. Like, we're not supposed to count those as casualties. How you gonna be stuck? Oh, you day 7, day 8, going into a war, and you trying to stick with 6 people? What you mean they not pretty trustworthy? They telling us something. We know good and damn well that they hit several military bases in different foreign countries unexpectedly. So how are those people not added? Lord, Ronnie, don't come in here with that bull crap. I am not in the mood. How about those people have not been added? They had those numbers, Slinky Moon, before the military bases was hit. So after those 6 people, when did you add in all of those military bases that got hit and destroyed? Those people were unalived. How many people were there? Well, how can you be? Are you concerned about the number staying 6? With your skepticism? Yeah, how can you have some skeptic about them, but Trump have a move past 6? He said we winning the war. And we know that's a lie. They hidden murals. They hidden pictures on the ground. Huh? It sounds like to me he hid more Venezuela boats and they wasn't even shouldn't have been a target. They didn't unalive any of our soldiers. But what he say he hitting, he ain't even hitting. Man, y'all need to stop. I mean, come on now. It's a damn show more than 6. And some of the military commanders throwing Trump up under the bus for lying. Yeah, Bibi Netanyahu gave him $300 million. Do the research. $300 million to go into this war. And Lord in heaven knows how much Saudi gave him. They messed up when Ayatollah Khomeini got unalived. So now it ain't even about winning or losing with Iran. They on revenge. And now China and Russia joining in. Yeah, no. No, there ain't no punks. They have been watching for 10 years. Let me find it. I'll let y'all hear it. Y'all not doing y'all research. Y'all just believe in everything Trump and his administration, the lying crew, tell y'all. Y'all believe that shit.
Leaked Israel's real casualties. 6 Israel generals dead. 32 Mossad agents dead. 198 Air Force officers
Dead.
462 soldiers dead.
Unalive.
11 nuclear scientists dead. Yo, Israel is getting obliterated by Iran. Russian attack.
Absolutely. Toe the up off the hinges. Carry on. Let me find it.
Whether the United States has the resources and resolve to defend these critical installations under sustained pressure. The coordination between this attack and other Iranian actions across the region suggests a comprehensive strategy rather than isolated incidents. Intelligence reports indicate increased activity by Iranian proxy forces in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, all timed to coincide with the missile strike on Prince Sultan. This multi-domain approach forces the United States and its allies to defend multiple fronts simultaneously, stretching resources and attention to the breaking point. It's a strategy designed to exploit the fundamental challenge of defending fixed installations against an adversary with mobile missile systems and multiple attack vectors. For the Biden administration, this attack creates a cascade of difficult decisions with no good options. Retaliating directly against Iran risks triggering a wider war that could devastate global energy markets and require military resources America doesn't have readily available. But failing to respond decisively could embolden Iran to conduct more aggressive attacks and might convince other adversaries globally that American security guarantees can be challenged without serious consequences. The political pressure from Congress, where both parties are calling for strong action, adds another layer of complexity to an already impossible situation. The technological implications of this attack extend beyond immediate military concerns to questions about the future of warfare itself. Iran's ability to strike precisely at long range with ballistic missiles demonstrates that relatively modest military powers can now threaten sophisticated adversaries in ways that would have been impossible just a generation ago. The proliferation of precision strike capabilities means that the era of untouchable American bases projecting power with impunity may be ending, replaced by a more complex and dangerous reality where every military installation is potentially vulnerable to devastating attack. The human element of this crisis often gets lost in discussions of strategy and technology, but it's crucial for understanding what's really at stake. Thousands of American service members are stationed at Prince Sultan Air Base, along with contractors, allied personnel, and support staff. These are real people with families back home, serving in what has suddenly become one of the most dangerous postings in the American military. The stress of operating under constant threat of missile attack, the exhaustion of maintaining maximum readiness day after day, and the knowledge that defensive systems might not stop every incoming missile takes an enormous psychological toll that affects readiness and effectiveness.
Hey, Roxanne, Trump killed men on fishing boats. Those boats wasn't even, absolutely, wasn't even facing the U.S.
Saudi Arabia produces approximately 10
Dang, I done
barrels
forgot
of
what
oil
I'm
per day,
supposed to be looking
representing
for.
about 10% of global supply. If Iranian attacks take even a portion of that production offline, the resulting price spike could push oil well above $150 per barrel, triggering inflation throughout the global economy, potentially causing a recession.
The United States is going to lose the war against Iran. And only Arabs saw this coming. Here is why. Iran did not just wake up and decide to fight America. They have been preparing for this exact moment for 20 years. They
My
even
bad,
ran a
20
practice
years,
war
not
last year
10.
just to study how America fights. Think about that. While America was sleeping, Iran was training. Now here is what the news is not telling you. Iran is not trying to win on the battlefield. They do not need to. They are cutting off.
Can y'all hear
The
this with
United
your
States
good
is going
ear?
to lose the war against Iran, and only Arabs saw this coming. The United States is going to lose the war against Iran, and only Arabs saw this coming. Here is why. Iran did not just wake up and decide to fight America. They have been preparing for this exact moment for 20 years. They even ran a practice war last year just to study how America fights. Think about it.
They've been studying for 20 years. Practice drills last year. Did y'all hear that with y'all good ear? Y'all get the
The
lights
United
up.
States is going to lose the war against Iran, and only Arabs saw this coming. Here is why. Iran did not just wake up and decide to fight America. They have been preparing for. The United States is going to lose the war against Iran, and only Arabs saw this coming. Here is why. Iran did not just wake up and decide to fight America. They have been preparing for this exact moment for 20 years. They even ran a practice war last year just to study how America fights. Think about that. While America was sleeping, Iran was training. Now here is what the news is not telling you. Iran is not trying to win on the battlefield. They do not need to. They are cutting off the food supply to the entire Gulf region. They are targeting the water supply. Saudi Arabia gets 60% of its water from desalination plants. One drone strike and 10 million people have no water in 2 weeks. No water means Saudi Arabia falls.
Listen.
Saudi Arabia falls means
Yeah.
the petrodollar.
I need for y'all to understand they have
Million
it all
people
mapped
have
out.
no water in 2 weeks. No water means Saudi Arabia
No water.
to win on the battlefield. They do not need to. They are
I don't
cutting
know
off
what
the
that
food
means.
supply to the
Hold
entire
on.
Gulf.
Please don't put no codes in here. Speak it on layman's terms where everybody can understand what you are saying. So I'm going to remove that, and you need to say it in a way in which I understand what you're saying. You can be saying some trifling, conniving shit,
To win on the battlefield.
and
They
I
do
don't
not
know
need
it.
to. Iran was training. Now here is what the news is not telling you. Iran is not trying to win on the battlefield. They do not need to. They are cutting off the food supply to the entire Gulf region. They are targeting the water supply. Saudi Arabia gets 60% of its water from desalination plants. One drone strike and 10 million people have no water in 2 weeks. No water means Saudi Arabia falls. Saudi Arabia falls means the petrodollar dies. Petrodollar dies means the American economy collapses from the inside, and it gets worse. America is spending millions of dollars to shoot down Iranian drones that cost $50,000 each. They are literally going broke trying to defend themselves. This is not a war America can win with bombs, and deep down they know it. Arabs have watched this pattern destroy empires for centuries. Now the whole world gets to watch it happen in real time. And if you want to know how to protect your wealth when empires fall and wars break out, comment the word wealth, and I will
Now, you taking likes back.
was training.
Now I'm
Now
going to
here
pause until my
is
lights
what
get
the
up.
news is.
I'm bringing y'all tea. Truthful tea that y'all not getting. And I know you're not getting it because you confused on what you're saying and thinking. Hit the like button. It is 1 o'clock in the dang morning. I am not finna play with y'all. I'll shut it down. You better ask the regular tea sippers. I will shut it down with 300 people in here. 214. I don't care. It can be 10. And I'll still shut it down. Get the lights up. Persian. It's Jerusalem back in Bible days. Yeah, I can show y'all that too. 3 a.m. over here. Oh, Lord. Hit the like button for 3 a.m. in the morning. 3 a.m. in the morning. Let me set my goals. Maybe because I ain't seeing no jewels. Yeah, that Persian. Hold on. Yeah, get the likes up. Come on, y'all. The quicker you get the likes up, the quicker I can start back.
The Mediterranean diet is the world's healthiest for a reason. I've been hearing the hype about the Mediterranean lifestyle for years, but was always intimidated by it. It seemed like a ton of shopping and prepping. But Green Chef does all the work. They focus on fresh ingredients and balanced meals and whole grain.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the lights to go up. Cause just as soon as I start, yeah, let the people leave.
In energy importing nations and fundamentally reshaping geopolitical relationships as countries scramble to secure energy supplies. The strategic petroleum reserves that America and other nations maintain would provide only temporary relief, and the Biden administration
Oh, this is Dubai nightclub. How can y'all be trying to go out when they bombing?
The United States is going to lose the war against Iran, and only Arabs saw this coming. Here is why. Iran did not just wake up and decide to fight America. They have been preparing for this exact moment for 20 years. They even ran a practice war last year just to study how America fights. Think about that. While America was sleeping, Iran was training. Now here is what the news is not telling you. Iran is not trying to win on the battlefield. They do not need to. They are cutting off the food supply to the entire Gulf region. They are targeting the water supply. Saudi Arabia gets 60% of its water from desalination plants. One drone strike and 10 million people have no water in 2 weeks. No water means Saudi Arabia falls. Saudi Arabia falls means the petrodollar dies. Petrodollar dies means the American economy collapses from the inside, and it gets worse. America is spending millions of dollars to shoot down Iranian
They thought
drones
they was a
that cost
pump.
$50,000 each.
They got
are
played.
literally going broke, trying to defend themselves. This is not a war America can win with bombs, and deep down they know it.
Ooh, he
Arabs
said
have
with
watched
bombs,
this
you
pattern
can't even
destroy
win it.
empires for centuries. Now the whole world gets to watch it happen in real time. And if you want to know how to dies means the American economy collapses from the inside. Saudi Arabia falls means the petrodollar dies. Petrodollar dies means the American economy collapses from the inside, and it gets worse. America is spending millions of dollars to shoot down Iranian drones that cost $50,000 each. They are literally going broke, trying to defend themselves. This is not a war America can win.
We should have how much are we spending on each?
They are literally going broke. America is spending millions of dollars to shoot down Iranian drones. Dies means the American economy collapses from the inside, and
this
it gets
is not
worse.
our war.
America is spending millions of dollars to shoot down Iranian drones that cost $50,000.
Because of the Epstein files,
Denise.
Denise.
Going broke, trying to defend themselves. This is not a war America can win with bombs, and deep down they know it. Arabs have watched this pattern destroy empires for centuries. Now the whole world gets to watch it happen in real time. And if you want to know how to protect your wealth when
nation's options for increasing domestic
I
production.
just thought I'd let y'all know.
By infrastructure constraints.
Just for the ones who thought maybe I was just talking and didn't know.
The response
Yeah,
from
no.
American allies in Europe and Asia has been notably muted, reflecting their own complex calculations about the risks of escalation. European nations are already dealing with energy challenges related to the Ukraine conflict and are deeply concerned about anything that could further disrupt energy markets. Asian allies like Japan and South Korea, almost entirely dependent on Middle Eastern energy imports, face potentially catastrophic economic consequences if the situation spirals out of control. This lukewarm allied support constrains American options and potentially emboldens Iran to push further, calculating that Washington won't risk unilateral action without strong international backing.
Yeah.
Looking at the broader strategic picture,
y'all act
this
like,
attack
I mean,
represents a potential turning point in the 4-decade
what we are
competition
used
between the
to
United
with
States
our
and
government,
Iran for influence in the Middle
it's
East.
no longer
Iran
that.
appears to be gambling that American military resources are stretched too thin, that domestic political divisions limit Washington's ability
We no
to
longer
sustain
have
military
that.
operations, and that the economic consequences of a wider conflict
from UAE, Abu Dhabi. It's 7:15, and the missile attacks have started again. So I'm sheltering in place. It's really disheartening that it feels like there is no help from the U.S. government in the situation. For the call line that they said. Quick update from UAE, Abu Dhabi. It's 7:15, and the missile attacks have started again. So I'm sheltering in place. It's really disheartening that it feels like there is no help from the U.S. government in the situation. For the call line that they set to call, and for it to deliberately say, do not rely on the U.S. government right now for help evacuating, that's disheartening. And even for the questionnaire, for if you need assistance to get out, as if you will need a loan.
Listen,
a
loan.
Take out a loan for this stuff that's
A
completely out of
loan.
my control.
So they done started this war, and the embassy won't help them. U.S. won't help them get home and say, you got to take out a loan from the U.S. government for them to assist you getting home. So you mean to tell me you finna milk the U.S. citizen who's stuck over in UAE because you decided to let Bibi Netanyahu and Saudi, Mohammed, all stupid, yeah, trick your dumb ass into going to war, and y'all don't even have money. What? Set aside to assist them in getting home? And y'all really still think that one, we should be at war, and two, that it's America first. They say we'll give you a loan.
From UAE, Abu Dhabi. It's 7:15, and the missile attacks have started again. So I'm sheltering in place. It's really disheartening that it feels like there is no help from the U.S. government in the situation. For the call line that they set to call, and for it to deliberately say, do not rely on the U.S. government right now for help evacuating, that's disheartening. And even for the questionnaire, for if you need assistance to get out, as if you will need a loan. Why would I take out a loan for this stuff that's completely out of my control? And I'm stuck. Other countries are sending charter buses to take their people to other countries so they can get a flight out. But here, we're just stuck. And the U.S. government is basically telling us to figure it out on our own and to not rely on them, or that you have to take out a loan. It's ridiculous. But y'all be safe out there. Peace from the Middle East.
Peace from the Middle East. Peace from the Middle East.
Israel just hit 2,000 targets in Iran. Most people think that's military. Jews know. This just created a $40 billion opportunity. What actually got destroyed? Power plants, water systems, bridges, roads, Iran's entire infrastructure decimated. Military bases rebuild in 5 years. Infrastructure takes 20. Without power, without water, countries collapse. This is how you force regime change. But here's what nobody's... Connecting. BlackRock owns 7% of Lockheed Martin. Lockheed makes the missiles that destroyed Iran. Same BlackRock owns Fluor.
Yeah, they have not provided us any picture of Iran being destroyed. Have anybody seen any?
I ain't never been hit this many fucking times in my career. I gotta get the fuck out of here before I lose my fucking life. I ain't never been hit this many fucking times in my...
Oh! Oh, I don't know why he whooped his ass, but he did. Hold on, I want to show y'all something.
So the war around Iran is becoming more tense. Viral reports claim that Kim Jong-un has issued a warning. North Korean citizens are currently in Iran, and there will be no compromise on their safety. If even one of them is harmed, North Korea could enter the war immediately. For now, the world is watching closely. Because if North Korea joins this war, the situation could escalate very quickly. So the war around Iran is becoming more tense. Viral reports claim that Kim Jong-un has issued a warning. North Korean citizens are currently in Iran, and there will be no compromise on their safety. If even one of them is harmed, North Korea could enter the war immediately. For now, the world is watching closely.
So is.
Because if North Korea joins this war,
We are in trouble. Conflict.
Be unbearable for the global economy. Whether this calculation proves correct will determine not just the outcome of the current consequences if the situation spirals out of control. This lukewarm allied support constrains American options and potentially emboldens Iran to push further, calculating that Washington won't risk unilateral action without strong international backing. Looking at the broader strategic picture, this attack represents a potential turning point in the 4-decade competition between the United States and Iran for influence in the Middle East. Iran appears to be gambling that American military resources are stretched too thin, that domestic political divisions limit Washington's ability to sustain military operations, and that the economic consequences of a wider conflict would be unbearable for the global economy. Whether this calculation proves correct will determine not just the outcome of the current crisis, but the future balance of power in a region that remains critical for global energy security despite years of talk about pivoting to other theaters. The intelligence community is working overtime to assess Iran's next moves. But the challenge of predicting Tehran's actions has proven consistently difficult. Iran's decision-making process involves multiple power centers, including the supreme leader, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the regular military, and various political factions, each with their own interests and risk tolerances. This complex internal dynamic makes it difficult to predict whether Iran will escalate further with additional strikes, pause to assess the impact of their actions, or potentially seek diplomatic off-ramps to avoid triggering a massive American response. The role of regional powers like Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan in this crisis could prove decisive, but remains uncertain. These nations have their own complex relationships with both the United States and Iran, and their responses could either help contain the conflict or contribute to its expansion. Turkey, in particular, with its NATO membership, but increasingly independent foreign policy, could play a crucial mediation role or could exploit the chaos to advance its own regional ambitions. The positions these powers take in the coming days will significantly influence whether this crisis escalates into a regional war or finds a path toward de-escalation. As American military commanders evaluate their options, they face constraints that would have seemed unimaginable during the height of American power projection capabilities. The inventory of precision-guided munitions has been depleted by shipments to Ukraine and Israel. The readiness of naval assets has been degraded by extended deployments without adequate maintenance. And the availability of ground forces is limited by commitments in Europe and the Pacific. These practical limitations mean that even if political leaders decide on military action, the scope and duration of operations would be constrained by physical realities that adversaries clearly understand. The cyber dimension of this conflict remains largely hidden from public view,
and they want to convert Christians.
Both the
Bibi
United
Netanyahu
States
said
and
they
Iran
want
have
to
sophisticated cyber
convert
capabilities
Christians
that can be
into
deployed to disrupt military
Zionists,
operations, critical infrastructure,
believers
or
into
economic systems.
non-believers.
A major cyber attack accompanying physical strikes could multiply the impact of conventional military operations, potentially crippling defensive systems, disrupting communications, or causing cascading failures in critical infrastructure. The fact that neither side has yet unleashed their full cyber capabilities suggests both are keeping options in reserve. But that restraint might not hold if the conflict continues to escalate. This attack on Prince Sultan Air Base isn't just another incident in a long-running regional conflict.
Oh yeah, let
It's a
me
direct
find that
challenge to the
assault on
fundamental
that
premises
base
of
where.
American military strategy
Oh
in
yeah,
the
let
Middle
me
East.
find that
The
one.
ability
Hold
to maintain
on.
a small number of heavily defended bases from which to project overwhelming air power has been the cornerstone of American regional security policy since the Gulf War. If that model is no longer viable in the face of precision missile threats, the entire American approach to Middle Eastern security needs to be reconsidered. That's not a process that can happen overnight, and in the meantime, American forces and interests remain vulnerable to an adversary that has clearly decided the benefits of aggression outweigh the risks of retaliation. The coming days and weeks will likely determine whether this attack marks the beginning of a wider regional war or serves as a wake-up call that leads to diplomatic engagement. The choices made by leaders in Washington, Tehran, Riyadh, and other capitals will shape not just the immediate crisis, but the long-term trajectory of Middle Eastern security and global energy markets. For those of us watching from the United States, understanding these dynamics isn't optional. The outcomes will directly affect everything from what we pay at the gas pump to whether American service members come home safely to their families. War and Wealth will continue tracking this story as it develops, bringing you the detailed analysis.
Hold on.
Was this man friends with ChatGPT? Is it true that the World Trade Center in New York was purchased 4 weeks prior to the 9/11 attack by a Jewish man that also placed the insurance that covers terroristic attacks?
Yes, that's true. Larry Silver.
Hey ChatGPT, is it true that the World Trade Center in New York was purchased 4 weeks prior to the 9/11 attack by a Jewish man that also placed the insurance that covers terroristic attacks?
Yes, that's true. Larry Silverstein signed the lease on the World Trade Center about 4 weeks before 9/11, and he did arrange a terrorism insurance policy.
Was this man friends with Benjamin Netanyahu?
Yes, they were known to have a friendly relationship and had known each other for many years.
Hey ChatGPT, is
Y'all
it
hear
true that
that?
the World Trade Center in New York was purchased 4 weeks prior
Bibi
to the 9/11
Netanyahu
attack
was
by a
behind
Jewish man
and
that
blamed
also
who
placed the insurance that covers
to start a
terroristic
war?
attacks?
Yes, that's true. Larry Silverstein signed the lease on the World Trade Center about 4 weeks before 9/11, and he did arrange a terrorism insurance policy.
Was this man friends with Benjamin Netanyahu?
Yes, they were known to have a friendly relationship and had known each other for many years.
Hey ChatGPT, is it
Hold on. Let me find out.
I think our country is occupied. Who do you think we're occupied by? AIPAC. A lot of people think that. The evidence is all there. We send $18 billion a year to Israel. Why? I think our country is occupied. Who do you think we're occupied by? AIPAC. A lot of people think that. The evidence is all there. We send $18 billion a year to Israel. Why?
Please hit the like button.
Ask the question, what do we get out of it? Nothing. We get nothing. Are we doing humanitarian work? No, they're charged with genocide. They're killing off Palestinians. Are we helping them survive? Well, they've got a higher standard of living than we do, a longer lifespan than we do, free education, free housing, free health care, but we're sending them money. Why? Ask yourself why a U.S. congressman can wear an Israeli military uniform in congressional chambers. I would think that would be an act of treason. But if he did, nobody said anything. I have difficulty looking at that in any other way than we're occupied. I think our country is occupied. Who do you think we're occupied by? AIPAC. A lot of people think that. The evidence is all there. We send $18 billion a year to Israel. Why? Just ask the question,
Why?
what do we get out of it? Nothing. We get nothing. Are we doing humanitarian work? No, they're charged with genocide. They're killing off Palestinians.
They doing better than we are. Well, they
helping
were.
them survive? Well, they've got a higher standard of living than we do, a longer lifespan
His
than we do.
plan is to
Free
steal
education,
our
free
money
housing,
and
free
leave
healthcare.
us as a
But we're sending them
third
money.
world country.
Why? Ask yourself why a U.S. congressman can wear an Israeli military uniform in congressional chambers. I
And
would think that would
Trump
be an act of treason.
is a part of it. He is signed on to it. And stealing our money. Hold on. Y'all please hit the like button. I need to hear this. I don't know what this is.
Okay, now we hear the sirens. So here's what we're going to do, everyone. Sirens, and you saw that interceptor. It didn't intercept anything, but we have things coming in, so we are going to just.
They in Iran.
Unmic and then go downstairs. Yep, I'm going to show you exactly where we go. All right. That's pretty dramatic. We do need to move pretty quickly. Okay, and there we go. We're just going to get onto this camera. All right, and come with me, Dan. You can just leave that there. Okay. All right. All right, I'm going to just move slowly here while Dan's coming with me. Okay, and we're going to move. So you hear the sirens now, and this is all around the area that we're in Tel Aviv. So that initial warning, it was about, I think, 5 or 6 minutes, Dan? Okay, and then let's just keep going. All right, we're going to...
This could be fire from Lebanon as well, from the Iranian instructed Hezbollah, which is part of the Iranian regime strategy of what's called survival warfare. Mobilize as much missiles coming from Lebanon. It could be the Houthis in Yemen, we don't know. But this is the Iranian regime survival strategy. Mobilize as much terror as you can to distract the world's attention away from the Iranian front itself.
Now, Trump is distracting us from...
I don't know if everyone can still hear those sirens. We'll hear the booms when they start hitting, which sometimes are as the sirens are going and sometimes are a little bit after. So now we're inside and we're just going to go into a stairwell here, Boris and Brianna. And I know it's a little awkward when you watch this, but this is what it is. And I think it's important for everyone to understand this is what has become the cadence, sorry, Dan, of normal life. And here we are now in the stairwell. So this is where we're going to go, obviously concrete fortified. And, okay, so I'll just come through here. Dan, come with me. Yeah. And as we pass it back to Boris and Brianna, what I will say, guys, is that you just don't know when it's coming. So you actually have people here who are, because these are cruise missiles that they now anticipate, ballistic missiles from Iran. It's not rockets in most cases, so you can't just go. I can hear all of it right now. People can't hear it probably on our mic. We're going to show you afterwards, but I can hear it all hitting right now, whether it's being intercepted or not. So we'll know that in just a few seconds. But it's unpredictable in terms of when, and people are camping out in garages and things like that, parking garages to try to find places that are safe. So it has completely disrupted life here.
Absolutely.
Schools closed, most stores closed. Obviously, it's a war zone.
It's a war zone.
Okay, now we hear the sirens. So here's what we're going to do, everyone. Sirens, and you saw that interceptor. It didn't intercept anything, but we have things coming in, so we are going to just unmic. Dan, will you take the mic off?
And then go downstairs?
Yep, I'm going to show you exactly where we go. All right?
That's pretty dramatic.
We do need to move pretty quickly. Okay, and there we go. We're just going to get onto this camera. All right? And come with me, Dan. You can just leave that there. Okay? All right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to just move slowly here while Dan's coming with me. Okay? And we're going to move.
Accused of leaking Khamenei's exact location to Mossad before the fatal strike. Did Ismail Khani's uncanny luck in surviving every blast actually expose a much deeper betrayal? With Iran... Is a Mossad mole at the very top of Iran's Quds force now dead? With swirling rumors claiming its powerful chief has been secretly arrested and even executed? Was Iran's so-called man with 9 lives finally killed not by Israel, but by his own guards, accused of leaking Khamenei's exact location to Mossad before the fatal strike? Did Ismail Khan leaking Khamenei's exact location to Mossad before the fatal strike? Was Iran's so-called man with 9 lives finally killed not by Israel, but by his own guards, accused of leaking Khamenei's exact location to Mossad before the fatal strike? Did Ismail
Yeah,
Khani's uncanny luck in surviving every blast
Mossad,
actually expose a
two
much
of them
deeper
was
betrayal?
arrested.
With Iran's supreme leader backstabbed from inside his most trusted force? From the killings of Nasrallah and Haniyeh to the assassination of Khamenei himself, has Khani's strange pattern of survival finally run out of road inside Tehran's war machine? Rumors now swirl that Quds Force commander Ismail Khani has been arrested, and possibly even executed, on explosive accusations of spying for Israel.
Oh, wow.
Several assassination of Khamenei himself. Has Khani's strange pattern of survival finally run out of road inside Tehran's war machine? Rumors now swirl that Quds Force commander Ismail Khani has been arrested, and possibly even executed, on explosive accusations of spying for Israel. Several Arab media outlets claim Khani was taken into custody by the IRGC itself, treated as a suspected Mossad agent inside Iran's most elite unit.
Well, but
the National has stressed that these
Bibi
claims remain unverified.
be
Yet they have
lying
raced across social media amid
because
intense speculation
I hope
about
they
his
didn't.
fate.
I hope they did not.
Spying for Israel.
Because
several Arab
two Mossad agents were caught trying to the false flags. Remember, so I can see them lying.
Inside Tehran's war machine.
Y'all support the platform.
Commander Ismail Khani
I gotta go up here. That's ending in 12 minutes.
On explosive accusations
I've been on here
for Israel.
an hour and 30 minutes.
Several Arab media outlets claim Khani was taken into custody by the IRGC itself, treated as a suspected Mossad agent inside Iran's most elite unit. The National has stressed that these claims remain unverified, yet they have raced across social media amid intense speculation about his fate. Khani, 67, earned the nickname the man with 9 lives after repeatedly walking away from lethal Israeli strikes that killed many around him. He took over the Quds Force in 2020 after the US killed his predecessor Qasem Soleimani, inheriting the job of running Iran's covert wars abroad. The Quds Force oversees Iran's so-called axis of resistance, coordinating Hezbollah, Hamas, and a web of militias from Iraq to Yemen. Khani was reportedly detained by the IRGC on March 2nd, barely days after Khamenei was killed in the joint US or Israel strike. Unconfirmed reports say he was accused of acting as a Mossad asset and leaking the supreme leader's coordinates directly to Israel. In closed-door interrogations, Khani was allegedly grilled in the joint US or Israel strike. Unconfirmed reports say he was accused of acting as a Mossad asset and leaking the supreme leader's coordinates directly to Israel. Unconfirmed reports say he was accused of acting as a Mossad asset and leaking the supreme leader's coordinates directly to Israel.
Well, Russia says that he know the U.S.
Khani was allegedly grilled on how he kept escaping the circle of fire that repeatedly killed those around him. IRGC High Command is said to have concluded that the scale of security breaches under his watch pointed to deliberate betrayal, not mere bad luck. From there, unconfirmed Arab language reports claimed Khani was executed by his own guards, turning the hunter of spies into the accused traitor. IRGC-linked bloggers have at least hinted at a broader cleansing inside the Quds Force leadership, suggesting a purge even if Khani's exact fate is murky. During Khani's tenure, top axis of resistance leaders kept getting hit while he somehow stayed just out of the blast radius. In July 2024, Khani reportedly met Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, minutes before Haniyeh was killed in a strike that Khani again survived. In September 2024, he is said to have left a Hezbollah bunker shortly before a devastating hit killed Hassan Nasrallah and much of the group's top command. By October 2024, during Khani's tenure, top axis of resistance leaders kept getting hit while he somehow stayed just out of the blast radius. In July 2024, Khani reportedly met Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, minutes before Haniyeh was killed in a strike that Khani again survived. In September 2024, he is said to have left a Hezbollah bunker shortly before a devastating hit killed Hassan Nasrallah and much of the group's top command. By October 2024, Khani was even briefly declared dead, then reported interrogated, before abruptly reappearing on Iranian television. In June 2025, rumors of his death surfaced again during the Iran-Israel clashes, only for him to resurface once more in state media footage. On February 28th, 2026, he was reportedly with Khamenei in Tehran, then left minutes before the joint US or Israel strike killed the supreme leader and his inner circle. Israeli media have hinted that their Iran kill list is nearly complete, yet Khani's name is conspicuously missing from the confirmed dead. One sensational claim even alleges a Mossad mole sent Netanyahu video of Khamenei's body from inside the compound. Tehran is now said to be putting Khani and his team under heavy interrogation, probing whether his luck was really cover for something darker. As speculation over Khani grows, Iran is racing to choose a new supreme leader to replace Khamenei in the middle of a shooting war. An interim leadership council now manages day-to-day authority while the Assembly of Experts meets to decide who takes the top job. Khamenei's son Mujtaba is widely seen as a frontrunner, with many insiders treating him as the natural heir to his father's role. But American President Donald Trump has publicly rejected Mujtaba, branding him a lightweight and unacceptable.
But you don't want him.
Is widely seen as a frontrunner, with many insiders
This
treating
is
him as the
our
natural heir
totally
to his father's
replacement,
role.
his son.
But day-to-day authority while the Assembly of Experts meets to decide who takes the top job. Khamenei's son Mujtaba is widely seen as a frontrunner, with many insiders treating him as the natural heir to his father's role. But American President Donald Trump has publicly rejected Mujtaba,
How you gonna
branding him a
reject him?
lightweight and unacceptable as Iran's next supreme leader. Trump has even said he must be
Call
involved in
him
the
a
appointment,
lightweight
like
and
with
you let
Delcy
somebody
Venezuela,
talk
from a
you
lightweight and
into
unacceptable as
stroking your
Iran's next
ego to go to
supreme
war.
leader. Trump has even said he must be involved in the appointment, like with Delcy in Venezuela, implying Washington should help pick Iran's next ruler. The White House, meanwhile, has rolled out 4 war goals, destroying Iran's missiles, annihilating much of its navy, stopping its nuclear push, and reshaping its regional power. Yet Secretary
He
of
want to
War
be
Pete
able to
Hegseth
steal. In
insists
other
there is
words,
no
he want to
formal
be able
regime
to
change
steal.
agenda, trying to square Trump's language with a narrower military mission.
Well, there's no expansion. Ultimately, I think the president's having a heck of a say in who runs Iran, given the ongoing operation we have. So there's no expansion in our objectives. We know exactly what we're trying to achieve.
See how he learn? Hold on.
A reasonable question, but the trouble is, you can't pick up the phone book. There's no Langley in Israel that you can look up, CIA or in our case.
You know, I used to just piss all over people's analysis when they would start talking about the Trilateral Commission and Bilderberg, and then somebody to
Our case thought we should ask what.
Did you know that the CIA and Mossad not only created and funded?
It's a reasonable question, but the trouble is, you can't pick up the phone book. There's no Langley in Israel that you can look up, CIA or in our case, the Mossad. We thought we should ask, what shall we call it in English? You can translate the Hebrew words, as I said, Mossad is institute, but when they write a letter to their friends in the CIA or the British intelligence, what do they call themselves? It took a while. It was a matter of asking the Prime Minister's spokesman. The best you could do, because officially the Mossad is under the Prime Minister's office. And I think he sort of wondered why you want to know and all that, so we explained. And he came up with the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. I mean, if it were to have initials, it would be ISIS. Just simple words like that. Interestingly enough, kind of a British model. The British don't really like the names MI5 and M.
You know, Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you said, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas.
Mr. Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir. As Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas.
Mr. Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Hamzi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the mechanisms in place that are to stop foreign aid from going to terrorist groups, and why are they not working if we have any in place? Sure. And I would note that these are, you notice, these are terrorist weaponry. You see some AKs, SKSs, some snipers, some clips, some clip carriers probably made in China, and I believe these are small landmines here beside right there.
Thank you, Denise. Oh, hold on.
Nothing's playing.
Whom I used to be very close. She went to one of those events. She was invited because she rose up high enough in the corporate structure that she went. I couldn't wait to hear, what was it like? And she said, it's a lot of really rich, really important people talking about arms deals. Arms deals. It was all about arms deals. And she said, except for... You know, I used to just piss all over people's analysis when they would start talking about the Trilateral Commission and Bilderberg. And then somebody to whom I used to be very close, she went to one of those events. She was invited because she rose up high enough in the corporate structure that she went. I couldn't wait to hear, what was it like? And she said, it's a lot of really rich, really important people talking about arms deals. Arms deals. It was all about arms deals. And she said, except for Davos. That's where they were all talking about how to manage the global economy. And I said, so all that shit's true, that they're the ones that set the policy. And she said, yeah, I saw it with my own eyes. You know, I used to just piss all over people's analysis when they would start talking about the Trilateral Commission and Bilderberg. And then somebody to whom I used to be very close, she went to one of those events. She was invited because she rose up high enough in the corporate structure that she went. I couldn't wait to hear, what was it like? And she said, it's a lot of really rich, really important people talking about arms deals. Arms deals. It was all about arms deals. And she said, except for Davos. That's where they were all talking about how to manage the global economy. And I said, so all that shit's true, that they're the ones that set the policy. And she said, yeah, I saw it with my own eyes. You know, I used to just piss all over people's analysis when they would start.
Okay. This is... Hold on, y'all.
Prior to the war getting started, we heard that Saudi Arabia did not want to get involved. They didn't want to get dragged into
I
this.
think I
So
played
Saudi
this.
Arabia said, United States, we're not going to allow you to use your military bases in our country to strike Iran. We
Yeah, I
just don't
think
want to
I
get dragged
played
into
this.
it, okay? Well, the Saudi crown prince is also a terrorist, also a
Yeah.
liar, a
Yeah.
butcher.
Yeah, this is the one I couldn't. Hold on.
Hey, why would you buy your health and wellness products from a company that doesn't specialize in health and wellness? Seems silly. When you buy from iHerb, your products are sourced directly from manufacturers.
Russell in the war. Hold on.
What if American soldiers were secretly captured in the middle of this war? A shocking claim from Iran's top security official
Oh,
is
they done
now
been
raising serious
captured.
questions, and Washington is calling it pure propaganda. As the war between the United
Oh,
States...
wow. Wow. They have captured some of.
What if American soldiers were secretly
Yeah, I'm finna get
captured in
ready
the
to
middle
shut
of
this
this
down.
war?
Y'all
A
tripping with me.
shocking claim from Iran's top security official is now raising serious questions, and Washington is calling it pure war. A shocking claim from Iran's top security official is now raising serious... What if American soldiers were secretly captured in the middle of this war? A shocking claim from Iran's top security official is now raising serious questions, and Washington is calling it pure propaganda. As the war between the United States, Israel, and Iran intensifies, a dramatic statement has emerged from Tehran. Ali Larijani, the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, claims that several American soldiers have been taken prisoner during the fighting. Posting on social media, Larijani said he had been informed that multiple U.S. troops were captured alive, even though the United States claims those soldiers were killed in action. He wrote,
But he's not adding them.
claims that several American soldiers have been taken prisoner during the fighting. Posting on social media, Larijani said he had been informed that multiple U.S. troops were captured alive, even though the United States claims those soldiers were killed in action. He wrote, despite their futile efforts, the truth is not something they can hide for too long. This isn't the first dramatic claim from Tehran. Larijani has previously alleged that more than 500 American troops were killed in retaliatory strikes, numbers that are vastly higher than the official U.S. figures.
Because they lied.
Iranian state media has been amplifying these claims, suggesting Washington may be hiding heavy
No, he
losses
not.
from the
Because he
public.
want to act like he winning.
But the United
A
States
war.
is rejecting the accusations completely. U.S. Central Command quickly responded, calling the claims
He gonna have to be
lies and
forced.
deception. Pentagon officials say no American soldiers have been captured and that all reported casualties were confirmed as killed in action. So far, Iran has not provided any evidence, no names, photos, or videos of captured troops. Experts say this could be part of a broader information war where both sides use powerful narratives to influence global opinion and boost morale at home. If the claim were ever
It's
proven
not
true,
boosting no
the
morale.
evidence,
No names, photos, or videos of captured troops. Experts say this could be part of a broader information war where both sides use powerful narratives to influence global opinion and boost morale at home. If the claim were ever proven true, it could dramatically escalate the conflict, potentially triggering a major U.S. military response. But if it turns out to be false, it could damage Iran's credibility on the global stage. Meanwhile, the war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran entered its 9th day, with high-intensity strikes spreading across the Middle East. The situation remains volatile, with reports of high-intensity Israeli airstrikes emerging from multiple sites in Iran and Lebanon. Iran has also launched several retaliatory strikes against U.S. and Israeli facilities in West Asia. Earlier, Tehran launched fresh missile strikes on the military bases of the two countries in West Asia. Israeli forces also struck Hezbollah sites in Lebanon, where 8 people were killed. Lebanon was dragged into the conflict on Monday when Hezbollah attacked Israel in retaliation for the killing of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One India app now.
Hold on, y'all.
The truth of the matter is,
Okay, hold on. Let me go there.
Donald Trump made a shocking admission this week when he said that crazy people shouldn't have nuclear weapons.
He ain't never
That's
lied.
right, folks. Donald Trump, the man who mental health experts and physicians this week, when he said that crazy people shouldn't have nuclear weapons.
Absolutely not.
That's right, folks. Donald Trump, the man who mental health experts and physicians are speculating has dementia, came out and said crazy people shouldn't have nuclear weapons. Here's the exact quote. When crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen. So we're in very good shape. No, we're the crazy people. You are the crazy person with nuclear weapons. You don't know where your own father was born, what country your father was born in. But you have more nukes and the sole authority to fire them than anyone else on the planet. You can't speak properly. You can't even stand up for more than a minute or two at a time. And yeah, sure, that's not crazy. That's just your body crapping out on you. You've got these sores popping up all over your body that you still won't tell us what the hell's going on. You're rotting from the inside out. but you have more nukes than anyone. We, as a country, are the only people ever to drop nuclear bombs on anyone. We're the only ones who've done it. Nobody else has. Everybody else has, that has them has said either it's a deterrent or we got to have them to, flex our muscle, but they've still not dropped any. To this day. Just us. So I don't want to hear that, well, we got to prevent a nuclear Iran. We need to prevent a nuclear United States. If we want other people to not have these things, then we need to put our money where our mouth is and do the same. We're the ones that the rest of the world fears. We're the reason the rest of the world feels that they need these weapons. They don't want to stockpile them because they're worried that their neighbor next door is going to have one. They're worried about us. The real crazy people with the nukes. That's what keeps them up at night. That's what they are planning for. And I wish more people firmly understood that. We started this. This is all our mess. So anytime you hear a U.S. politician whining and crying that, well, this country's trying to build nuclear weapons, you're damn right they are. Because they're worried about what the crazy people in the United States could potentially do to them. Thanks for watching, and if you are not already subscribed,
They laughed at me when I said spinning this device for 90 seconds could bring my father's mind back. But after watching my 76...
Sure, Donald Trump has lied to us about why we're in the war, and sure, Donald Trump has said we have no timetable for it, and sure, we don't have any experts because Kash Patel fired them all, and sure, we don't have any allies, but at least, we're getting Americans out of there, right? The Americans stranded, we're not leaving them there, right? Well, no. Americans stranded in the Middle East
Confession.
are being told by our
Iran
government,
keeps their cards
you are
close to the chest.
screwed, guys.
They studied us.
Hope you're not trying to
Absolutely
avoid getting
studied us for
sucked
20
into
years.
a war because we're not going to come and get you. The situation is so bad with thousands of Americans, including regular tourists who decided the Middle East this time of year was the perfect place to go. Which
can I get 10 people to help me reach my goal? What is going on? Come on, y'all. Oh, I'm gonna shut it down.
Okay.
The likes ain't moving up.
Thousands of
No
people are
support on my
stranded, so
goal.
Marco
What's
Rubio,
happening? What's popping?
That genius put out a video early this week and told stranded Americans, hey, we get it, we understand, you can't get flights, obviously, airspaces are closed down, so call this phone number at the State Department and you're good to go. You call the number and you get an automated message that just says, please do not rely on the U.S. government.
Thank you, Corey.
For assisted departure or evacuation. At this time, there are currently no United States evacuation points. So Rubio tells stranded Americans, don't worry, just call the phone number and all your problems will go away. And they call the phone number, they're like, yeah, we have no plan, you're fucked. Good luck, click, press 1 to hear this message again. That's our message to people stuck in a freaking war zone that we created. Is you can't leave. We don't have evacuation points. We don't even have a plan. We're not exactly the kind of people to make plans and figure things out. I mean, what do you think we are, the Obama administration? Get real. We just fly by the seat of our pants, right? We're shooting from the hip. Whatever we say happens immediately, and we don't even think of consequences for American citizens. So they're stuck. But don't worry, because Caroline Leavitt says We're on it. Leavitt issued a statement on Tuesday saying, the United States State Department is actively working on plans to help Americans
Okay, I'm
in
gonna
the
go
Middle
ahead
East
and shut it
return
down,
home.
y'all. In a few minutes.
Working on plans. So, multiple options to get a plane over there and load people. Because that seems like the plan. Now, I don't know how many we have, but I know for a fact, the United States military has big old giant planes with tons and tons and tons and tons of seats. Sometimes more seats than your average, airplane. Now, here's my plan. And this may be crazy wackadoo plan, but airspace is closed down except for military, right? Okay, we get that. So, send these people to an airport, fly in your little military plane, 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, I don't care how many, however many it takes, put the people on the planes, fly them to the nearest area where the airspace is not shut down, and they get off at that airport, get a new flight, and come home. Or, this is super crazy here, you just fly them home. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But seems to me, we have the pilots, we have the planes, we can, empty them out real quick. That seems like the only viable plan to get these people out of harm's way immediately. Thanks for watching, and if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and do not forget to...
What his channel?
So we're fighting a proxy war with China right now.
It's a world war. I mean, this is a world war. I believe the reason the Iranian missiles have been so effective in damaging our bases, and boy, have they done a doozy. It is not being reported accurately. They have done a real doozy to these bases. It's because of the fact that the Chinese are providing direct real-time signals intelligence to the Iranians.
Wow.
So we're fighting a proxy war with China right now.
It's a world war. I mean, this is a world war. I believe the reason the Iranian missiles have been so effective in damaging our bases, and boy, have they done a doozy. It is not being reported accurately. They have done a real doozy to these bases. It's because of the fact that the Chinese are providing direct real-time signals intelligence to the Iranians.
So we're fighting a proxy war with China right now.
It's a world war. I mean, this is a world war. I believe the reason the
Said the Secretary of State said something out loud that the day before would have been denounced as an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Israel made us do it. He said that, and it's true. I can verify that. That's true. And now everyone's seen it. And so, like, where do we go that the kidnapper has pulled off his mask? So what does that mean now that we know?
We're not going back from here. We are not going back from here.
That's for
the
sure.
Republicans are in a tough spot. So let's look at the evolution of just the Democratic Party in the last 48, 72 hours. I'm watching Ruben Gallego, Mark Warner, who is like a national security Democrat, whatever that means, who are like,
He's a
wow.
CIA cutout, yeah.
Literally, right? Like, as you and I know. And he's talking about how we're, the tail is wagging the dog and we can't be acting on behalf of Israel. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who months ago twisted himself into a knot to avoid saying the word AIPAC and couldn't even talk about their influence on politics, just said he understands why people would call Israel an apartheid state and how we may have to question our relationship with that country. So that, the dam has broken on the Democratic side.
Wait, can I just ask you to pause? What are the I've watched all of this with my jaw open. What are the chances Gavin Newsom called the ADL and AIPAC first before he said that and said, hey guys, just want to give you a heads up that I'm going to performatively attack you?
Almost certainly 100%, but the attack still matters. And the fact that even ADL or AIPAC would even allow that to happen if that were the case is still shocking. I mean, even AIPAC has made changes in a lot of their funding where they're allowing funding to go to some Democrats even who are, at least on the surface level, who are opposed to them. But if that's the Overton window that we all now live in as a country, we can literally never go back to even the 2024 status quo.
Yes.
But this is where the Republican Party is very, look, I think they're in a very tough spot. Imagine the amount of messaging, let's say, that's going to start to come out about how Trump doesn't care about your gas price. I mean, it's not just messaging, it's literally true. The president said, basically, high prices is so be it. And even in terms of dead Americans, it said something along the lines of, it happens, there are casualties in war. These comments are going to be wall to wall. I remember 06 vividly. It was actually the first election, which I really paid very close attention to and lived through. I'm sure you do
a lot
as
of
well.
low-flying
Just remember how the
planes.
Democrats destroyed the George W. Bush party. And then let's look at the structural problems that we already have. We have the economic problems I already mentioned, the bad jobs report as of this morning, potential high gas prices, just like back in the mid-2000s. You were going, and then you have people, senators like Ted Cruz on your show, Mike Huckabee, members of our government who are talking about the Third Temple. I mean, that's insane. You're talking about Third Temple and red heifers. I'm out here trying to pay my bills, man. Exactly. And then you can just watch how this is going to erode the entire Republican Party, especially whatever it comes to
under
turnout.
high
Now, but I
alert.
do also want to be clear, and you lived through this as well. I grew up in Bush country. The Bush dead enders, they stuck with him with 5,000 American troops dead. So there are a lot of Republican Party is I think they're in a very tough spot. Imagine the amount of messaging, let's say, that's going to start to come out about how Trump doesn't care about your gas price. I mean, it's not just messaging, it's literally true. The president said, basically, high prices is so be it. And even in terms of dead Americans, it said something along the lines of, it happens, there are casualties in war. These comments are going to be wall to wall. I remember 06 vividly. It was actually the first election, which I really paid very close attention to and lived through. I'm sure you do as well. Just remember how the Democrats destroyed the George W. Bush party. And then let's look at the structural problems that we already have. We have the economic problems I already mentioned, the bad jobs report as of this morning, potential high gas prices, just like back in the mid-2000s. You were going, and then
I'm talking about in the U.S.
Senators like Ted Cruz on your show, Mike Huckabee, members of our government who are talking about the Third Temple. I mean, that's insane. You're talking about Third Temple and red heifers. I'm out here trying to pay my bills, man. Exactly. And then you can just watch how this is going to erode the entire Republican Party, especially whenever it comes to turnout. Now, but I do also want to be clear, and you lived through this as well. I grew up in Bush country. The Bush dead enders, they stuck with him with 5,000 American troops dead. So there are a lot of Republicans who will stick with President Trump throughout this war. They revere and they trust him, and that's their right. They can do so. But here's what I always try to say. Republicans are not the reason that Donald Trump won the 2024 election. He won with a wide coalition of young people, of Latino voters, of a lot of independents, and those people, I can attest to you this 100%, because a lot of them are watching this show, my show, all the time. They have turned on this president. They are serious about not just this war with Iran, but a lot of different things up to this point. And at this point, I mean, we are going into a territory where it's not just about the war with Iran. It's about how many clips, I've played some of them on my own show, of members of this cabinet, members of this administration, who spoke explicitly about why war with Iran is not in our interest. And it's one of those things that's like the Epstein files. What people see inside of them is when you cover that up, I can't trust you about anything else. And same with war and peace. I mean, we're literally playing with people's lives. And you've spoken very eloquently about the reason Washington loves this is because they believe that they are God, is that the power of God for life and death upon them makes them feel bigger from whatever sad life, that they came from. And they've been subsumed by that now with power. And they are going to get a rude reminder of what that looks like in the midterm elections.
Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, California, I know New York.
Radically different, radically different
unless
direction.
they've
We're watching
added
that play
some
out in
more.
Texas.
I'm gonna get
We're
to
watching
the
that play
list.
out
Just a
all across
moment.
the country with Democratic turnout. And look, even in a self-interested perspective, for a lot of these Trump officials, if you don't want millions of dollars in legal bills and house subpoenas for the rest of your life, the rest of your natural life, let me be clear, you might want to start to do something very different than what you're doing right now.
Things around the world are moving so fast right now, it's impossible
Hold on,
to keep
let me pull it up.
up with all of the changes. Sources and methods.
Oh yeah, and by the way, our military is sleeping on the floor at the airport. Hold on. Y'all see that? Our military is sleeping on the floor at the airport. Y'all see that? This is how he treat the military in a fight that ain't even ours. So let me find these states and I'm gonna call it a night. I'm tired.
These pictures should match.
Crap.
So I just went to Kroger and I just asked.
So the number of U.S. casualties, and I want to quote to you, Congressman Crow, could be quite a bit higher.
Yeah. Excuse me. Let me find the casualty. And oh yeah, and this is when the bomb went off. At the airport. They left their luggage and everything. I'm trying to get to. Hold on, I'm trying to get it. What is this?
He is saying that he must be the one who gets to decide, or at least approve, the next leader.
Oh,
This is
yeah,
what he
no.
told me today. We don't want them to put anybody... President Trump is making an extraordinary declaration today about who should lead Iran. He is saying that
He crazy.
he must be the one who gets to decide, or at least
You're doing a
approve,
piss
the
poor
next
ass
leader.
job
This is what
with
he
the
told me
U.S.
today. We don't want them to put anybody in there
We
unless
don't
it
want
is
them to.
approved by us. This came in a lengthy conversation.
They already
I
got
called the
planned for their
president.
land
He
and
was
all. They need
in
to
a
be
meeting,
able to
he said, with
steal.
Marco Rubio. While we were on the phone, he put out the statement firing Kristi Noem and replacing her with Mark Wayne Mullen. And he was sounding absolutely triumphant about
Listen to this
Iran.
fool.
He wanted to know if I was impressed. This is the exact quote. He said, "I hope you are impressed. How do you like the performance?" The president said. "I mean, Venezuela is obvious. This might be better. How do you like the performance?" He asked again. He
How do
clearly
you like the
thinks,
performance?
that whatever happens next in Iran, that this operation is already an unmitigated success. As for how long it would go on, he told me, well, there are many people who say it's already over. It's not over for me. It's over when I want it to be. And the president said something else I thought was quite revealing about how different his approach is to using the military in the second term. He said, in my first term, I built the military. In my second term, I am using it.
Fine, sir. Do you support the war in Iran? You look like a senator. You look like you might got some power to you, sir. I've been dealing with low power level people. I'm tired of them. I needed a high power level, son.
I'm just a lowly fellow from Alabama. What can I say?
Roll Tide, sir.
No. War Eagle.
Oh, Auburn all day. Let's get it. I'm sorry. Well, I got a question, sir. Israel first or America first?
America first.
Beautiful. Should we end U.S. aid to Israel?
What's that?
Should we end U.S. aid to Israel?
No.
Why not? They're not a liability for us?
No.
What do they add for us?
History.
History?
Yeah.
They have no history, sir. They're younger than you, sir. You're older than the state of Israel.
Israel itself.
You know, my dad's from Bethlehem, Palestine. You know, we the original Christians. My great-grandfather was the head Orthodox priest in the Church of Nativity. My father was born on the grounds of the Church of the Nativity, and y'all are selling the Christians of Palestine down the river for some Polish-American Jews that have sold y'all a crock of crap, sir.
I believe what I believe.
Well, sir, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you know there's something called super agers. They get into their 80s and their mind's as sharp as a 20-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
If you support Palestine, you could be a super ager. If you support Israel, you'll have Alzheimer's within 3 years, sir. Just let God just spoke through me to you. I hope you take that advice. She liked that one. We love you, man. You have a great day. Sir, America first or Israel first? Sir, for your loved ones, cut back on the sugars and the fatty foods. Get in 10,000 steps.
Guys, he was fat. He said for your loved ones. Hold on. I'm trying to find the list. Hold on. Where is the list? I played it yesterday. just saw this list yesterday and played it. Oh, I think I sent it. I know where I sent it. Okay, hold on. Hi, Rissa.
Of nuclear attacks on U.S. soil.
There you go.
And again, for those of you that are hopping on a little bit late that missed it, let's go ahead and cover for you the 15 cities that they are saying are the primary targets if things were to erupt. And they're saying at this point it would be World War III. And again, for those of you that missed it, those top 15 cities that they're saying to be on the lookout for is Great Falls, Montana, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Ogden, Clearfield, Utah, Shreveport, Louisiana, Honolulu, Hawaii, Omaha, Nebraska, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Washington, D.C., Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, California, Houston, Texas, Chicago, Illinois,
Y'all listening?
Los Angeles,
These are the
California,
states.
and New York City, as they're saying that there is concerns about attacks on the U.S. homeland with potential nuclear attacks coming from our adversaries. And that is why also we're hearing that there are warnings coming out of potential attacks on U.S. soil. I shared with you just 4 days ago, take a look here, Pentagon warns that future wars may hit U.S. soil as direct military threats grow, and one of those threats we heard was the threat of nuclear attacks on U.S. soil. And again, for those of you that are hopping on a little bit late that missed it, let's go ahead and cover for you the 15 cities that they are saying are the primary targets if things were to erupt. And they're saying at this point it would be World War III. And again, for those of you that missed it, those top 15 cities that they're saying to be on the lookout for is Great Falls, Montana, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Ogden, Clearfield, Utah, Shreveport, Louisiana, Honolulu, Hawaii, Omaha, Nebraska, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Washington, D.C., Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, California, Houston, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, and New York City, as they're saying that there is concerns about attacks on the U.S. homeland with potential nuclear attacks coming from our adversaries. And that is why also we're hearing that there are warnings coming out of potential attacks on U.S. soil. I shared with you just 4 days ago, take a look here, Pentagon warns that future wars may hit U.S. soil as direct military threats grow, and one of those threats we heard was the threat of nuclear attacks on U.S. soil. And again, for those of you that are hopping on a little bit late that missed it, let's go ahead and cover for you the 15 cities that they are saying are the primary targets if things were to erupt. And they're saying at this point it would be World War III. And again, for those of you that missed it, those top 15 cities that they're saying to be on the lookout for is Great Falls, Montana, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Ogden, Clearfield, Utah, Shreveport, Louisiana, Honolulu, Hawaii, Omaha, Nebraska, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Washington, D.C., Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, California,
Yeah, good
Houston,
night.
Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, and New